If you're unemployed and have been thinking about going to the job center, then this video is for you, because I'll be sharing with you my honest experience, how much money they gave me, what support they actually provided, and what no one really talks about. So with that being said, let's start with how I managed to get in. So I began by creating a Universal Credit account online through the government website. I filled out an online application form where I had to give my name, my address, a lot of personal details, my work status, and also my CV. And then I got an appointment booked to actually go visit the job center, where I would then provide details and documentation to show my eligibility. So that would be my bank statement, my driver's license or my passport, proof of address, etc. And once everything was approved, I was then entitled to Universal Credit, meaning that every single month I would be getting paid. So I joined in February 2023 and I got paid the following March. And initially it was about £334, and for the first 2 months then it went up to about £368. So it's a safe bet to say that you'll get paid between £300 to £400. Initially there will be weekly meetings just to catch up with how everything is going. Then after a certain amount of time it will go to bi-weekly, and that would be either phone call or it would be in person. So let's go into what opportunities they provided me. So initially I went to the job center because I wanted to land a job in tech, and I specified this in my CV. So upon signing up, you have 3 different choices you can pick, areas for which if you were to get into employment would be fine by you. So for me, I chose tech to be the first. The fallback was going to be marketing, and last but not least was retail. And most of the jobs that they gave me were not what I was looking for. In fact, they were retail, which is probably what you would expect. And a lot of times when I did have my meetings, I would say to them, look, I want tech specific roles, even if it's something to do with IT, because I didn't want to get into something that would detract me from my career path. And at some point I got an indication that their main focus is to just push you into work regardless of whether it was your first choice or it was your last choice. And that's something that was quite a big put off for me. During each meeting, they would also like to know how you're doing things by yourself, so your own job applications. And at this point I was applying to so many different jobs on a weekly basis. So I would be applying through LinkedIn, Glassdoor, Indeed, Google search even, and this is something I had to let them know just so that they knew that I was staying within my commitments and actually applying to jobs. A few months later, the job center recommended to me a job fair that was going to take place, and that was in London. So I decided that I was going to go with my brother. So I made sure to get a suit on and make sure I was very well dressed, because I heard that they were going to be on the spot interviews, which to me was quite enticing, because it could very well be that should I get an interview that day and I sell myself properly, then I would get into a tech job. So I made sure to represent myself the best I could. When we went there, we saw that there were really no tech jobs. A lot of these jobs were like customer service or retail jobs, and there were so many different companies there. And when we went to each of the stores, we would be asking them, look, are you recruiting for any tech specific roles? And so many of them were like, look, take our card, this is our website, just take a look at the vacancies that are on there, and if anything pops up, then just be sure to stay up to date with it. And we were just thinking to each other yeah, this isn't what we were expecting. I was really hoping to find some good leads there, but I felt like we were sold a bit of a dream that there were going to be on the spot interviews and stuff, and hopefully that there was going to be a company there that would take us on for tech specific roles, but that was totally not the case. Then it was getting to the later part of 2023, and at this point money was getting a bit tight, so I realized that I had to do something to replenish some money and, survive. So next time I had my appointment at the job center, I was like, look, can you put me forward for a teaching assistant position? So they accepted that. They were pretty quick to get that done, and afterwards I got enrolled in an online course through LMP Education, where I took a course to understand young children and young people's mental health. So through this, I was then qualified to get a teaching assistant role, which I did do for a few schools, and I made a little bit of money, which I found to be quite helpful for survival. After about 9 to 10 months of being unemployed, the job center then referred me to the Restart scheme, which was a scheme to help long-term unemployed people get into work. So they would provide interview preparations, they would provide you with online resources, and they would also provide you with training to make sure that you're job ready. And this is something that they were kind of pushing me into when I was there. So about a month into it, so we're talking about January 2024, I got put forward for quite an interesting role. It was an apprenticeship. It was a virtual production technician, and I thought that, all right, it's loosely tech related, but it's more to do with like videography and that sort of stuff. So I was like, seems interesting. So I made sure to let the person know that I was going to go ahead with it. I went to do the preparations, I went to do the interview, but unfortunately the job didn't go as planned and I failed the interview. So at this point I was starting to think to myself that, yeah, this is not really looking that great. I don't think either the Restart scheme or the job center is really going to provide me with that IT or tech specific role. I was even told by my support manager that there were going to be recruiters coming in to the building, so if you would like to speak with them at certain points, maybe you could build rapport with them, you could ask them about maybe potential openings that they would have with their company. And at this point I had mentally signed out, because it was coming up to about a year into this whole job searching thing with the job center and Restart that I wasn't really getting any inspiration from whatever opportunities they were providing, and it was just a drag to go to each of the sessions and just having to repeat the same thing over and over. So as a result of not going to my sessions, I was then sanctioned, and a sanction is basically a fancy term for saying that, yeah, you're not going to get paid until you resolve this issue and you recommit to your commitments, and which I tried at some points to resolve because I knew money was tight and I didn't want to put myself in a position where I had no money in my bank. So I tried to resolve this to an extent, and so it didn't really get resolved. And then at this point I was like, yeah, I'm totally done. You know, I'm just really hoping whatever applications I am doing outside of the job center would pick up, and that there would be something that I could just hang on to that would just give me that tech job. And luckily there was actually one opportunity that I had applied to that went through, and now we're talking about August 2024. So I ended up then getting into this tech recruitment agency which had a academy which I went for training, and the root purpose behind this training was to make sure that I was proficient enough and knowledgeable enough to land a job in tech. And thankfully they did help me, but due to some internal process with the company, I lost my job only after 8 days. And if you would like to know a little bit more, I will just leave a card above this so you can just take a look at that. But here's the thing, just before I lost my job, one of my support manager at the Restart scheme was actually emailing me saying that, you know, congratulations on getting a job, you know, could you provide me with more details on, you know, the type of role and the company. And at this point I felt like it was a little bit of a breach in privacy, because the phone call that I had with him, he was even able to guess like to the 100th pound like how much I was making, and I thought that was just a bit suspicious. Like, I don't want people to know how much I'm earning. So, you know, in the phone call he was saying to me, look, could you just you know, just give me more information. And they were looking for like a recommendation, if you would like, yeah, the job center helped me. Like, he was saying to me, could you just let me know how I helped you to get into this job and how the Restart scheme was to help you get into it. And I was just thinking, like, you did not help me get this job. I done this off my own back, and there was no way I was gonna give them a recommendation. So I was like, yeah, I sent an email back saying like, look, I don't want to be contacted anymore. I got what I wanted, which was a job, and yeah, you guys did really help out. So I just, that was it for me. At this point, I was done completely with the job center, and we're talking about now this year. Early this year, it was about February or March, early March, I can't exactly remember, but at this point, I was totally done with the job center. I hope this video somewhat gave you an insight as to what you can expect when you go to the job center and what type of opportunities will open up to you. Now, if I'm to be balanced and neutral, my opinion would be that if you're looking for a career and you want to get kickstarted into a career, the job center will most likely not help you get into that dream job that you're looking for. However, if your goal is to get into a job because you're low on money and you really need to make ends meet, then there is a high chance that the job center will help you get into that role. You just need to be open about what your expectations are and what you would like for them to do, and they'll provide you plenty of opportunities. It is just up to you whether you take them or not. So now that I am unemployed again, I am just exploring so many different options just to make sure that I'm still in the game and making sure that I am still, employable within the tech field. It is tremendously difficult to get into, but it's not impossible. So I'm going to try keeping my head up and try getting into one as soon as I can. If you would like to know what my thoughts were about being unemployed last year, then you can take a look at this over here if you would like. Or if you're interested in knowing what my opinion is and what you should do while being unemployed, you can also take a look at that over here. And I thank you so much for listening to me and watching this video, and let me know what your thoughts are down below. And until the next time, I wish you the best and take care.